Three, two, one, go. I wish it would show you that. It's cute. It's cute. I love seeing it every Wednesday. The countdown. Three, two, one, go. I need to record that for the morning. How you doing? It's so good to see you all out there. Yes, I can see you. I can see you right through this camera. I can see you. I am JB Bryan, President and Chief Investment Officer of JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of AfroEconomics. Y'all say something to me so I can know that we have no technical challenges. I just want to know that we are flowing. I see your numbers clicking in, but I need to see your words. I need to see some members coming to the studio. I need to see some participation. Just say, I can hear you. Say something back. Let me know you're out there. I got my headphones on. I'm trying to do everything right. Clicked in. I'm the engineer. I'm the executive producer. Oh, and then one thing, yeah, I was, of course, doing some other things because that's what entrepreneurs do. We do other things. We do everything. So I was doing something with the website, and then or talking or communicating with the webmaster, and forgot about y'all with the link for this. So that with the text coming out a little slower today, but that also might be why those of you who are watching are not participating back. But wherever you're watching from, I can see your numbers, but I need to see it's just to make sure. And then you know what? I'm not even going to worry about it because there is no way that you would sit there and continue to listen to me if you could not hear me. So thank you for God telling me that. Thank you, God, for telling me that, hey, they're sitting there listening because they're listening. They don't have to say anything. You don't have to say a thing. Today's topic is about assets and liabilities. And in our discussion last week when we were talking, about mortgages and the possible new mortgage that's coming out, possibly in consideration, and we were discussing, and I talked a lot about the importance of having assets, how important it is for when we spend money to make sure that we're thinking about what are we spending the money on. And I see more and more, videos of people, talking about, why having debt is great, having debt is fine, going into debt, don't worry about going into debt, things like that. So then when you have your financial advisor suggesting that you try to minimize your debt, that you get this conflict. And then a lot of what works on social media, which cannot work for me as a licensed financial advisor, and as a registered investment advisory firm owner, what I am committed to doing and legally required to do is to do what is in your best interest. So when I give like suggestions or advice broadly like this, the challenge is to make sure that you know that nothing that I say is specifically for you until we're meeting, until we have our one-on-one meeting, and then I'm giving it specifically to you. But when you hear things out here, even from me, know that I just got the text that I sent out. So that means you'll be getting your text soon. Well, if you had the text, then you would already be in here. So the I definitely, but I just got my text. So I apologize for the text that's going out on delay, but it is good to know that they are coming out. But when you hear things that are on social media, make sure that you realize that that is for the general public. That when a person is out there giving advice, we're giving it general advice. It is not just because you're hearing it, it does not mean that it is applicable or for you, right? So that's very important to hear when you see someone is saying and encouraging you to go into debt, and they're saying, get debt, get it, get it, get it, because that is the best thing in the world and things like that. Like, we have to make sure that you realize that every time there's a debt and you're borrowing money, that is a payment that you have to pay back. So there, and then I just realized I didn't really have the chat up. So when you do chat, I'll be ready. But so when you're generating payments, that means that you have to have some income, that have to have the income that's going to take care of that payment. So if you get a liability, you get a debt. A debt is a liable. It's something that you're liable for. It's something that you're responsible for. It's something that you have to pay back. So when you get a debt and you use it to purchase an asset that will pay you or possibly pay you one day, then that's different than when you get a debt and it's for something that's not going to produce. It's not an asset. It's a depreciating consumer item. You may think that a big screen television is an asset because it's comfortable and it makes watching the game better, but it is not worth anything as soon as you leave the store. Like, you might have paid, I remember when big screens first came out, I bought a television, the big box one, $5,000. It was like beautiful. It was a piece of furniture back then. This is like one of the first, like 50, I don't know if it was like 50 or 60 inch. It was big, black and shiny. It's beautiful. And then it was $5,000 that you could get. But of course, the television that you would get today. So imagine if I had like financed that. By the time I would have paid that off, those televisions would have not been $5,000 anymore. The time you walk out, as soon as I walked out of that, it was like one of those like specialty stores. I don't know if you all remember when they used to have these specialty stores and you could get like all this. The home theater was a big deal. And it might have had Circuit City back then, but they didn't have, there was no Best Buy and all of that, no Geek Squad. So it was like huge, like, you're doing this, you're getting this surround sound system and all this stuff. That was like a big deal 20 years ago. Shoot, that might have been 30 years ago. But it's worth nothing now. Nobody wants that great big beautiful box in the middle of their living room anymore. But I remember that used to be so eye-catching. Everybody loved it. I loved it. Oh, my guests loved it. My parents loved it. It was wow. It's beautiful. But it is a depreciating asset that some people set up on a payment plan. So while the TV was $5,000 and you're paying $300 a month to pay the TV off, by the time you finish that payment, they discovered they couldn't even give it away. Didn't give it away. That's something. Quickly, the new ones came out that were flat right up against the wall. So they didn't take all that floor space in your room, and it's done. So the key is learning that assets are things that at least have the potential to go up in value. I guess if I kept that great big box TV for 100 years or 50 years or something like that, maybe it might be considered an antique to someone, but it's pretty much worthless because it wouldn't accept the HDM stuff, and you wouldn't have the TV quality. And now we have these whole different quality, are changing it all the time, on how the quality of the TV and how, like a lot of our televisions are now better than the movie theater screen at the movies, and the movie people have to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. But when the people at the movie theater spend the money or go into debt to get the bigger, better screen, that is a business tax deduction for them. The interest that they pay on financing that biggest, better screen for their business, it is a tax deduction. It is a business expense. So when you see these discussions about, oh, the debt is great, sometimes they're talking about it from a business perspective. And when I'll say avoid debt, I'm talking about it from a personal perspective. But if we were talking and having an individual consultation and you were asking me about what's best for your business, I might give you a different answer, most likely, than I would give you for your individual liability and debt concerns. And so I want to really quickly, I want to share something with you. It's good to see y'all who just came in. One second. Second. Woo! I will start this over for you. I hope that when I share, it will share it nicely. It came blasting in my ear. Hopefully it'll come blasting at you. Check this out. So I just wanted to tell you about like the different perspectives of stuff that's out here. Here we go. Hope that y'all have probably heard about this. This you may have. Let me make sure you can see this. You can see it. It's weird. Trying to see the best way. Yeah. Why should I leave the screen completely? I'm back with you. So here we go. I'll talk about it later.
Money. Well, how do I get rich? I borrow money and I buy assets with it. The poor person borrows money and buys liabilities like persons,
Can you hear it? Oh, shoot.
houses, and they get poorer
One
and
second,
poorer
one second,
and
one
poorer.
second.
But
I'm gonna
I
start
use
over.
debt, and so the banks love it. They love people borrow lots of money. So how do I get rich? I borrow money and I buy assets with it. The poor person borrows money and buys liabilities like purses, cars, houses, and they get poorer and poorer and poorer. But I use debt. I borrowed $300 million after the crash in 2000. By 2000, I had borrowed $300 million to buy real estate that made me rich. And the interest rates kept coming down, so that my cost of money kept coming down. And so everybody else is to get out of debt. You know why? Because they've been hypnotized into being poor. So the question is, how do you learn to use debt to get rich? Because they tell you to get out of debt. And so the banks love it.
So his question is, how do you get rich without having debt? Like he's basically suggesting that you cannot become super rich without going into debt. And that definitely, from many points of view, that is true. The more debt that you can get them to loan to you, and you go out there and you buy more and more businesses, he's talking about more and more commercial properties. He actually listed your house as a bad debt, your residential real estate as a bad debt. What does that mean? That he's looking at everything from a business perspective. So when you're looking at it personally, and he's giving you this advice about buying all these commercial properties, and then when did he buy them? He said, I bought them right after the pandemic when everybody else was selling their business properties because everybody was working from home. The interesting thing would be for him to say, is he upside down? So I'm going to show you, we're going to look at something else. Upside down meaning, does he owe more than his properties are worth now because they have gone down since the pandemic, because so many businesses have not done that. Again, a lot of businesses have not gone back. There are a lot of businesses are allowing people to work from home. So there's a lot of commercial properties that have not regained their value since that. So they're having to make some changes, like turn them into apartment buildings, make them residential, do some different creative things with them. So definitely when we see these things, I'm just encouraging us to ask more questions. You get it, like a lot of my clients do. They see these things, they get it, they send to me, and then we talk about it. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you this one. And then let's talk about it. I'm going to start this.
I have
$1 billion too.
Does that ever make you nervous?
I'm going to start this over.
You have
$1 billion too.
How much debt do you have?
$1 billion too.
Does that ever make you nervous? Are you ever worried about defaulting on the debt?
Gets me a sickly stimulator. Now I'll tell you why. You owe the
Wow.
bank $20 million and you can't pay it back, you got a problem. But you owe the bank $1 billion and you can't pay it back, it's their problem.
How much debt?
Let's hear this.
But you owe the bank $1 billion and you can't pay it back, it's their problem.
He said, when you owe the bank $1 billion, it's their problem. When you owe the bank $1, it's their problem. They're the lender. They're the one taking the chance. But if you owe, he says that he's over $1 billion in debt. So if he's over $1 billion in debt and you owe the bank, they're either going to take the asset back if you cannot make the payment. So he has to make the payments on that $1 billion of debt. So the young people, they don't know enough to ask him, and he would never get in a conversation with someone like me. And I'll ask, like, well, what is your payment on that? And what income are you getting? So you got $1 billion and your payments on that debt is $500,000 a month or what, I don't know, So you got $500,000 a month in payments. What is the income that you're generating from these assets that I hope you purchased for this? So you might say my income that I'm generating hopefully is at least that $500,000 a month. But what happens if that business files bankruptcy that is paying him rent in that commercial property that he has? Well, then all of a sudden his income on those payments has changed. And yes, he could file bankruptcy. But then after he files bankruptcy, because he can't pay that, then it's going to be harder and harder for him to find a lender that will help him sustain what he's happening. So broke is broke. If you have $1 billion and you owe $1.2 billion, you're broke. You are not financially liquid. You have no net worth. If I have $10,000 and if I owe $10,000 and my assets are worth $100,000, then I have $90,000 that I own. You actually own something. So to have $1 billion of something that you own, but you owe on it $1.2 billion, you actually owe nothing. You're still broke. And that is the part that they don't talk about. That your assets, if you're going and getting liabilities, you're getting debt to purchase an asset, but the asset is a bad pick. When you make money is on the purchase of that asset. So he said, I bought all of these into 2020. No, most people aren't thinking. That means he bought them at what he thought was the lowest price. But a lot of those commercial properties that were sold at 2020 were actually at the peak. And they thought they were making money because they were paying less than they were paying last year in 2019. They would have had to pay for it. But when you compare it to 2025, it's done nothing but go down in value. Or in order to make it have the market value that you need, you have to go into even more debt. And now the lender doesn't see the value in it. The value hasn't grown. The value of it has not grown. Exactly. So they're presenting you with what Dr. Edlow was saying, that it's smoke and mirrors. You think you're seeing it clearly. It's like, wow, he's a billionaire. But actually, the person could be very broke. So we need to be measuring how liquid they are. Just like when we see these superstars and they have all these records that are being sold and all these products that are being sold and all of these movies that they're making. But during that time, they actually took out debt, meaning they helped them finance their house. So then the record label actually owns the house. The record label helps them buy cars. The record label helps them do all these things and help record label starts advancing. And then they end up charging them for promoting the record and this and that, and they end up with a negative. Is because they have these things that present themselves as assets, but it's not really an asset. The best thing they could have done, like the guy in Cadillac Records, where they had to bury one of them and nobody had any money except for the one that wasn't driving the Cadillac. The one that told the owner, nah, just give me my money. You don't have to buy me no car. Everybody else was fascinated because he was basically financing Cadillacs for them, keeping them in new Cadillacs, giving them new cars, but never giving them their cash. The only brother that had the cash was the one that was pulling up in the old truck. I don't know if y'all remember that, but that was such a financial empowerment moment. He kept his money. And when I read, I think his name was, I don't know, I think he was Muddy Waters. But when I read his story, and his family was saying about how good he was with money and that he continued to work and he worked his entire life. Like, and what we have been presented with is that it's not cool to work your entire life. So if you don't want to work your entire life, and this brother worked his entire life and was making a lot of cash, was making money, kept his money, had his first wife. He never went through a divorce, was raising his own kids, didn't have kids out there. Like, all of these are things, are assets. Never going through a divorce is an asset. You know, not having children so you don't have to pay child support, that's an asset. Not having child support to pay, that's an asset. Somebody, you know, but to have to pay child support out is a liability. It's the same thing as a debt. No, so then, you know, these are things. Life is just full of choices, and that's why I called this discussion balancing act in assets versus liabilities, because we have been socialized so much to not really discover what an asset is. But your family is an asset. And in my opinion, having a home is an asset. For people that have a family, if it's just you, then maybe it's not as important. Maybe you don't have to have the residential property, but the people that have to have a residential property that might require them going into debt is the people who have multiple kids, and it's more cost effective for them, because if they have to rent that home, it could cost them more than if they finance that home over 30 years. So that will help them actually get their expenses down. So and that liability is a good liability, but many times now you see these, you know, like that guy Grant that does a lot of, when they're trying to sign you up to make you only think about the business side, like they just all the time attack your personal residence. And I get that, but I'd be doing you a disservice if I acted like I don't work with real people. I don't know who they work with. But real people generally want a home. Amen, Ms. Branch. Like, so it's not a bad investment. It's just that you need to not outdo yourself in order to do that with any liability that we have. You know, they'll say, oh, a person is house poor. But have you ever heard them say that a person is car poor? I would much rather you have a house payment that's a little too large and skip the car altogether. You can literally, if you could get on the bus line or carpool or have one car to the household, it is not our residential real estate that has caused our wealth in our community not to grow. It is definitely the consumer items that has caused the liabilities. It's not that the consumer items, the televisions, the expensive TVs, the expensive habits like, you know, smoking, and the expensive habits like drinking and going out and drinking all the time, and that you know, not taking care of your health. That is a very, very bad, expensive habit. Not taking care of ourselves costs us so much. It creates a liability. On average, with old numbers, it costs people about $250,000 to take care of themselves in their senior years on expenses for their health that are not covered by their insurance. Imagine if we keep ourselves healthy so that we don't have those type of liabilities. Amen. Ms. Mack concurs that if you have to choose to focus on the asset that has at least the highest potential of increasing in value. Residential real estate, hey, granted, it's not the best investment. Even if you do residential real estate like they always come at us with flipping the properties, that's not the best. That is not. It's definitely not the easiest way to make money. It's just that they can come at you and say more things than a registered investment advisor like me. I'm always coming at you saying what's best for you. They're always coming at you saying what feels good. They always want to make you feel good. This will be easy. This will flip. This will get you rich quick. I'm coming at you saying this is how you build a sustainable lifestyle so that you are building consistent wealth and you don't ever have to worry about filing bankruptcy, that you don't ever have to worry about that. That you can, because the best thing that we can do as far as building wealth is to make sure that we never have to get rid of the assets that we have. Good health, that's right. Ms. Mack said good health is everything. Yes. Yes. Ms. Hayes says, I want life in my longevity. Yes. And there is, and you can tell all those people telling you go into debt, get all the debt you can, get into debt, that there is a direct correlation between an increase in heart disease and a reduction and an increase in your debts. Yes, people who have a low credit score are more likely to have poor health. And it is because they are under more stress. So we have to decide, Mr. Walker, what type of lifestyle you want. Do you want to be the age of that guy, rich dad, poor dad, saying, I have $1 billion worth of debt, where like his person just changed so much, over the years. I'm like, let's look at this. Like, I don't know. I don't even remember him like being like this. It's almost, to me, it looks like he might be having like a mental problem. Check this out. Again, I'm gonna share this just so we just let's look at this.
How much debt do you have?
$1 billion too.
Does that ever make you nervous? Are you ever worried about defaulting on the debt?
Gets me
He's cussing and everything.
No, I'll tell you why. You owe the bank $20 million and you can't pay it back. You got a problem. But you owe the bank $1 billion and you can't pay it back. Is there a problem?
How much debt do you have?
$1 billion too.
Does that ever make you nervous? Are you ever worried about defaulting on the debt?
Gets me
looks nervous.
No, I'll tell you why. You owe the bank $20 million and you can't pay it back. You got a problem. You owe the bank $1 billion and you can't pay it back. Is there a problem?
How much?
What exactly is he saying there, Ms. Hayes? He's saying that if your debt gets so high that it's impossible. Basically, he's saying if you get so much, you get to $1 billion worth of debt. So your debt load is so high that you can't possibly pay it back. It's not your problem anymore. So you just are willing to give the bank all of your assets. Yeah, Ms. Mack, wasn't it scary? How in the world can these young people and old people be following that person? Rich dad, poor dad. He's the rich dad. He's the rich dad. He's saying his dad, that state of sound mind. When his father was his age, I bet his dad wasn't on TV cussing and looking crazy like that. He about 80 years old, probably. Looking like that, just acting crazy. I don't know. I bet Ms. Hayes, ain't no way there's no bank out there that one bank would just loan him that. He got some people involved in that $1 billion that he owes. And that's when it gets really bad. Like, he's saying that like it's just a bank because he thinks that we live in a world where people don't work at banks. Like literally whatever bank it is that he owes it to, hypothetically, people work there. If he doesn't pay that, what happens? People lose jobs. Isn't that sad? People lose jobs because you don't pay it back. I remember one time they had the Black Bank. A big reason that Consolidated Bank closed down is because they loaned money to businesses, and many of them were Black, that did not pay them back. Our oldest Black-owned bank, gone and now owned by white bank, because we did not pay the money back. But yet you're gonna go and make you think that's funny? Like, you want to socialize these young people that that's acceptable behavior to not be responsible for yourself, to leave that type of scar on the planet for your next generation, is that you died $1 billion. That's just sick. That's just sick. It's probably not. He's just not. I just hate to believe that that man is that cold, callous, and doesn't realize that if they did, because they, first of all, I couldn't even go into $1 billion of debt if I wanted to. Thank God I don't want to. But if I wanted to, because you know what? Because somebody, like what he's saying, somebody believed in him enough. These banks believed in him enough. Exactly. Dr. Edlow, exactly. They would not lend that kind of money to us. No matter how good our asset was. No matter how good our asset was. So he's saying that he has these assets out here that were worth enough that somebody loaned that. We need to be very, very careful with the way that things are, and we need to be very, very careful the way these things are coming at us now. As people are doing things like, and I haven't been able to, but I know, like, we're just doing things because they make it look really good. And then the people who are locally available to you are boring because you know them. Oh, that's just JB. She just trying to tell me what I shouldn't do. She jealous. She think I'm gonna become a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? Why would I be jealous? The richer my clients are, the more money I make. I'm never going to be jealous of your success. I may be like the only person on the planet who is never going to be jealous of your success. I promise you. I love that about my work. You get rich. I get rich. We get rich together. Hey, this is it. This is the party. This is it. But those other people who are just telling you to do stuff, to go into debt, do this by any means necessary, flip, flop, flam, flop, go, they're gone. They're gone. I know my clients. Tell them, Joe Jones. We start together, we 10 toes down. We start together, we live together. We work this thing. We're together for life. She couldn't get rid of me if she wanted to. None of y'all. But when they're just through these internet, they don't have to be accountable to you. They don't have to help you make that payment. I tell you to do something crazy, you coming right to me, Jay, how am I supposed to pay this $10,000 a month? Like, this is your idea. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then the idiot says, well, it ain't your problem. It's the bank's problem. It is your problem. It is your problem. We're from a community that does not like not paying our bills. We are so fiscally responsible as a people. I have gotten calls from people and they don't have any money left. They don't have any money. This one lady, she was like, I'm disabled. All I have is this money in my 401k. It's the last dime that I have. I'm waiting for my disability to get approved. I'm thinking about taking the money from my retirement, this 401k, and she wanted to send it to the credit card company because she did not want to let the credit card company down. Her last dime. That is how amazing we are as a people. And that is exactly the way we should be. I said, sis, you may need that money to live and eat. This disability might take longer than you think, because it does take a long time. I've seen several people, it take like 2 years. So I said, I would suggest, you're not my client. This is just a complimentary consultation, but I would suggest that you keep that money handy for you. You may really need it before this is done. And then when your disability is approved, you give me a call back, we'll take the next steps. see where to go from there. But your job now is to call that credit card company, stop using that card, tell them thank you, but no thank you. And when you get some money, you'll pay them. Oh, that's so sweet. You're so sweet. Thank you, Joe Jones. I love it. I put that up there. Yes, indeed. May we get 30 more together. Yes, indeed. How you doing, Mr. Brown? Yes, indeed. So then, like, that's some key points, and then I'm gonna let y'all go. Things I want you to think about with assets. Assets are what you actually own. It's what has value. You know, your car is an asset. Yes, it is. But it is an asset that you want to be very reasonable with, because the value of it tends to decline over time. There is a loan that is attached to the car if you finance the car. It'd be great if you could just take the money out of your pocket, buy a reasonable car, but your car could have a liability attached. So if the car goes down in value, but that liability is still there, you're paying the interest and stuff, you're doing the best you can. But if you bought the car for 50,000, you financed 50,000, you left the car lot, the car is already worth only 40. Just like that. Yep, just like that. Just like that. Just it could happen. Maybe 45, but it's not going up in value. You might buy an asset like a commercial property or a residential property, and that real estate asset might, if you took out a loan, but the asset value may in that first year increase in value. It may not. It may take 10 years, but on the 10th year, it might really add up. But you bought an asset that has a chance of actually outpacing. If we look at historically, how homes will do better growing in value than a car, than a television, than an expensive purse. No, deal. But it depends. It depends. So I'm not going to say, oh, it's not possible. I'm sure they sell some of those expensive purses and they go, this is going to be worth, you buy this purse for 5,000, but 10 years from now, this purse is going to be worth 10,000. I'm sure they're telling people that. I would have to see. I just have what happens. I just want to see it happen though. Miss Peterson said she hasn't had a credit card for 10 years. I know that's right. That's right. You know, like you need it for an emergency, but you don't need to have a credit card balance, you know? So just having the credit card is not the problem. Keeping the balance is the problem. No. So we do. But now we have the debit cards and things, and then you can run it as a credit card. So if you can, it does make it easier to not use a credit card because of the way the banking accounts are set up now. So your net worth, your wealth is determined by the assets that you choose to spend your money on minus the liabilities. But when we do this, and when I really think about this deeply, is that a lot of what the rich dad, poor dad, the grants, those people that are always running commercials and trying to set you up for these programs, a lot of times they're talking about debts from a commercial side. So they'll say, like, if you borrow money, then you don't have to take taxes on it. He's referring to if you have a business and you borrow the money to purchase the asset, yes, taking out a loan to purchase the asset for the business so that you can, say, rent out the apartment building. Yes, that is not a taxable event to receive a loan. But if your business is paying you income from your business because you have bills that yourself you have to pay and you have to eat, then you have to pay taxes on the income you make. But no, taking out a loan is not a taxable event. Don't let them get your head like that. Some of the stuff that they say to us, they're depending on us to try to fill in the gaps, fill out, and figure it out on your own how misleading they're being. And it's not even against the law. It's not even against the law because they have absolutely no license at all. If I tell you something misleading, I am regulated by the government. They're holding me accountable. I have to do continuing ed. They have to audit me. All of these things happen when a person is licensed. When they just have a podcast and they run commercials and they promote it, they can tell you absolutely anything and you fill in the gaps. They can tell you how great a trust is for a billionaire, and it has nothing to do with you as an average person. But most of the people that actually will buy it and spend that $5,000 or $3,000 or whatever they say, you know what I'm saying? Because they're running that commercial. They're running the commercial telling you what the billionaire did, what someone else did. It's not even applicable to you. But they make you feel like if I do this, then I'll be a billionaire too. If I do this, then I'll be the billionaire as well. You know, that these things will have, I will be able to do this. How you doing, Mr. Barden? Good to see you in there. So let's be careful in our good doing that you don't do anything to damage you in our attempt to accept this type of misleading stuff that they're giving us. It's biblical. People have been trying to mislead people all the way back to Bible time. We have to be wise. You know, it says like one of your greatest blessings is to surround yourself with wise counsel. Be careful. Be careful who that is. We too often surround ourselves with people who have no accountability, no regulation, no license, nothing. And then when you come back and you go, oh, that didn't work for me. They go, oh, I was just telling you about it. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Yeah. For high net worth clients, some banks will refinance anything. You can get a loan. Everybody who does not need a loan can get a loan. The more money you have, you can see the mail that I get with people trying to get me to finance things. You want to get approved for something? Stop going into debt. Own stuff. You're going to always be able to get something. There's always, I was watching that like after the Obamas came out of the White House, and, you know, lenders were going crazy to get them. So they bought like 3, 4, 5. They have a whole bunch of different homes. Homes over here, homes in California, home in DC, home in Martha's Vineyard, home, you know, a whole bunch. I said, they ain't listen to none of them people on them videos saying, don't buy residential real estate. They said, look, we love residents. We got residents. But if you think about it, like as an asset, like it is kind of bad. Like, you know, if they bought stuff like a hotel in Martha's Vineyard, you know what I'm saying? They just like they became multimillionaires. But they literally, if they had made more strategic business moves, they could have, you know, but they would have had to really, really buckle down and do business. And that is a harder life than just doing things. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, letting Netflix use your name as a producer and stuff like that. That pays good, but not as much if they were setting up their own. But there's a bigger risk when you're setting up your own. So I get that, you know, so everything changes by each person. It's easy when you're outside of a situation. But like one, you know, brother told me when I told him like, hey, you know, he was famous. And I said, when I was starting my business, and I said, hey, I'll do the work. I'll just use your name, but I'll do the work, but we could do this. We did this together. This is so much easier because nobody knows me. And he said, I don't want those kind of problems. And that's what you have to realize. In order to make big money, for a lot of people, they see it as having more problems. But then he was like 30 years older than me, at least 20 years older than me. So things do change on how you approach life. So you don't do so much debt that it makes your latter years harder. what we do as we're younger. Like what I discovered was I didn't want to have a lot of debt because I wanted my health. I saw myself getting older and not thinking about my health, like having less and less time for my health. So like we could definitely go into more debt. We could work more. We could do things. You can do these things, but in exchange, there is nothing. To whom much is given, much is required. You want good health, then you got to do good things to yourself. You want to have a lot of money, then you got to do a whole lot of work. Period. It's a lie when they tell you that a black person is going to be able to make legal wealth without putting work into it. You go out, you get this great big commercial property. Great big commercial property. You got to get people in the units. Oh, I'm going to hire people. Okay, that's a new debt. So either you got to do it or you're going to have to go into more debt to get other people to do it. That's the constant question in business. Am I willing to work this or am I going to hire other? Every time you hire more other people to do it, every time it's something that can't be done by a computer, every time it's all of that requires earnings, commerce, money, cash flow. And some people, they don't want to work and create it and invest it back in the way I did it. I didn't go into debt to start my business. I went to work. That's how I built my business. And I thank God that I did that. So now I don't have to look at nobody telling me they own part of this. This is part theirs. This is that. I'd rather have all of mine than a piece of theirs. I'm sorry. I know there's some rappers that are saying, I'd rather have a piece of it. But ask Puff Daddy today, what would he rather have done? Control ourselves. Anything that sounds too good to be true, I don't care what they say, it generally is. Anything that sounds too good to be true, it is. Remember that. Yep. So assets minus liabilities means wealth. And in my opinion, that positive number with wealth, I don't care if it's $10 million, $10 billion, $10 billion minus $11 billion is negative $1 billion. You're broke. At peace is the man who's got a positive dollar. It's your dollar. It's your dollar. Just my philosophy. Because to the end of time, there are going to be people out there who want to bow. But I'm going to tell you, true freedom is having your own. Let it be $1, $2, $3, whatever, it's mine. They can laugh at you all you want, but it's yours. Other than that, you are to a $1.2 billion slave. That's what I would tell Rich Dad, because he was making that laugh about the bank. Ha ha ha. No, you are a slave to the bank. That's the bank's problem. No, that's your problem, bro. That's your problem, because they're going to take everything you got when they want to, and everything you got because you signed it on the form. You do that paperwork for commercial property, it says everything in it and everything outside it and everything you put on it and all of that. That's ours. That's the slave. That's the slave. Y'all be good. God bless.